Joining me today is Dr. Wei Wang, who is the Senior Director of the Association for Talent Development. Dr. Wang manages ATD Global Partners from more than 20 countries. Thank you very much for joining me today. I look forward for our discussion.
Thank you for having me. It's my great pleasure to be here today.
So I would like to we're going to talk about the overall learning and development trends. And I would like to start by asking you, what exactly is the state of talent development now and where is it heading?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think today, the talent development is more important than ever. I mean, we always have been talking about it's important to develop talent, but I think the pandemic really accelerated that. And just across our research and the feedback we hear from our members, I think talent development has been giving more important role than ever. And they've been put up at the front line to help organization with transition and transition to the pandemic mode and now transition back to the new normal mode. And also another trend where we see is talent development. Talent development is not just important for the organization to help them to close the skills gap, which is being broadened, but also it's critical for the employee, because nowadays when employee looking for a job, they're not just looking for pay or not just looking for what they do, but also really looking at what kind of opportunity they will have to continue to grow themselves. So talent development in the training and development become an important employee engagement tool. That's also, help to really improve the status of talent development. The third trend what we see is obviously, as everybody know, that technology has been, impacting all aspects of our lives. It's particularly impacting the talent development, the work, as there's a lot of discussion around AI and ChatGPT. So all those require organization has a better digital literacy and also give an opportunity for talent development professionals to leverage those tools to develop to develop talent. So how to leverage technology is another key trend we see in the talent development world. Last but not least, I think also is still part of what we get from the pandemic is the hybrid workforce. In US, for example, in my organization, people are still, some people can go into the office and people have been working from home. I think this for different region is a little bit different, but in general, hybrid workforce is here to stay. So today we're not just, for talent development, you're not just talking to the people who work in the office every day and how to organize them, to do training, how to develop them. You're talking about, how to work with employees from maybe around the world, working from home, working from coffee shop, and how to develop them continually and continue to engage them. So I think those are I think just at high level, probably 4 aspects where we see that's, the latest about talent development.
Amazing. You mentioned a very key word while speaking skills. What does skills mean in today's world?
I think the skills is really important, and the skills gap is broadened for sure. As we all know, we keep talking about in past years, upskill, reskilling, and this has become more important than ever. ATD, we published a research report called Bridging Skills Gap in 2022. We do this research every few years. And although this report is mostly focusing on US data, but I think that some findings there is interesting to see. And obviously, it's important to have the technology skills and the digital literacy in today's world. But in this report, we also find that, the biggest skills gap is not necessarily those technical skills. It's actually, the number one was actually, critical thinking and the problem solving. And follow that is in communication, managerial and supervision skills. And also very interesting compared to previous research, the innovation and the creativity and innovation, the importance has been rise up. So this is really, I think, show that in today's world, we're not necessarily developing our skills to compete with machine, but rather we should develop the skills that help us to work better with machine. So that's where, I think the human connection is more important, the communication, the critical thinking, problem solving. And also another trend where we see is we're talking more about capability rather than just skills. So capability, skills is more indicating like what you know and today to do your job well, today's job well. When we talk about capability, is more about your knowledge, your ability to adapt, to learn, and not just for the current, but also for the future. So that's why when ATD do the research on our capabilities, we changed our capability model name from used to call competency model, and we change to capability, because we believe that in today's world, developing the knowledge, the capability to be able to adapt and to help us to facing the future challenges, that is more critical for today's world. So I think that's where
so we can say that developing the ability to adapt is the most needed skill.
It's a very critical skills because I think what we are trying to say is, like, in the past, you will know what the organization needs, and then you develop the skills to meet those needs. But today's world, the change is so fast, right? When the time you meet the current skills, maybe there's something else coming up. So it's more important to develop people have the skills or capability to learn to adapt so that they can, no matter what, when they're in the new environment, when they're facing new challenges, they know how to adapt and continue to evolve, rather than just, okay, I just learned how to do this and now I can only do this. So that is, I think, where we see in general why it's important to develop that capabilities to facing the future, be it more flexible, adaptable.
And what about organizations? Are they keen on developing their employees? Are they keen on developing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, ADD has been conducting research is one of our key areas that we contributing to the field. So ADD has been conducting the state of industry report for the past 2 decades. We have been tracking on organizations' investment in learning. So anecdotally, of course, we hear people talking about, training is important, developing talent is important, but also we have a data to support that. In 2021, that was when we were deep in the pandemic. Our research showed that organizations is still on average investing about $1,280 per person per year on their learning investment. That means they sending them to training or, take a training in-house or other kind of development. So this is compared to pre-pandemic in 2019, the number was 1,300. So it's very close. So what we see is, previously when we are in economy crisis, whenever we're in there, the first budget being cut, it was training, right? So like, okay, training is not important. We were in crisis mode, let's cut that. But now I think an organization learned that it take time is in the critical situations. It's more important than ever to develop talent and maintain that talent. So they continue to invest, and so the numbers really shows that. So one aspect is what I mentioned is the learning investment, right? So they spend about almost $1,200 per person on their learning investment every year. Another aspect is about their learning hours. So organization on average is spending about 33 hours a year. That's almost a week, right? So allow employees to take their learning. For example, at ATD, we have a policy that everybody have 40 learning hours a year. So you can use that 40 hours, do anything you want. You can learn, of course, things related to your work, but you can also just learn things like gardening, cooking, skiing, any sports. So as an organization, I think we're really proud to offer that benefit and to demonstrate that our commitment to learning. And it's really a great way of engaging employee. So to answer your question, I think from no matter whether anecdotally or the data also show that organization really continue to invest in learning.
So that's amazing. And then how can the leaders of the organizations encourage people to learn more? I mean, you mentioned a few examples, but is there something specific that the leaders could do?
Absolutely. I think a leader is really critical in this making the change, make more people aware of how important learning is for individual and for organization. Because if the leader is not supporting that, no matter how loud the training department is yelling, is saying, people are not going to have a buy-in. It is so important that when ATD, we have a award called the Best Award. That's basically give out, it's one of the most rigorous award that to give it to organization who demonstrate overall they are a great learning organization. So one of the criteria is actually whether the leader of the organization is supporting the learning. So, there's many things as a leader they can do. For example, in many companies, the CEO or CLO or BU head will be also serve as a facilitator, as an internal trainer, right? So they will be taking that trainer role to really go to the classroom or on the virtual classroom to really play that teaching role. And some other will be definitely giving enough fund, the learning budget to learning department, rather than, okay, that's the first thing to cut when we have a budget constraint. And also really a lot about, in a public or in media to demonstrate that, to continually promote that learning is important, learning is our bigger culture, and everybody need to take the opportunity to develop themselves. Another one, of course, is to take time to develop themselves as well. Leaders also need to learn to invest in themselves, right? So in a lot of times when we're in the classroom in training, they say, oh, I wish my boss can be in this class, because they are the one who really need to learn this, right? So I think we wanted to continue to see those leaderships continue to be invest in their own learning, because they have to walk the talk. If they tell people learning is important, they better put themselves in the learning environment as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So then in that case, what is the role of the learning department? How can it encourage people to learn, including leaders?
That's a great question. I think, part of my job is to really to travel around the world, talking with professionals in our field, and to hear what their challenges and what they're focusing on. Very often we hear that, how can I demonstrate my importance, right? How can I become that at a C level? I think the most important thing is not how other people see you, is really how you position yourself. So first, you really have to make your learning relevant. I think a part of the reason where people have against the training, or they don't feel like it's essential, is because they don't feel it's relevant. It does not make changes for me whether I'm going the training or not. It just takes my time away from me doing other things. So I think the first important thing is to, as a learning and development, we have to make our learning relevant to business, to employee. How can we do that? That means you really need to understand the business, become a business partner, become a business partner with your business unit, really understand, help them to solve their issues rather than come here, take learning, complete the learning hours. And also, that's why it's important to developing our, consulting skills and developing our needs assessment skills, being a good instructional designer, really develop the course that's really engaging and can transfer the learning result. Also in addition to that, I think it's also critical for the learning professionals to focusing on communicating internally, and even do marketing campaigns to create that kind of learning environment and make people aware of what's learning options available. Very often where I see a lot is the learning professionals not necessarily a good marketing professionals. for example, we provided a training for one of the large organizations. So I asked them, are you guys going to do any like launching event to make people aware of this? They said, oh, no, I haven't thought about it. I said, why not? Right? You want more people to be aware of this. You want to encourage more people to join the program. So let's do a marketing campaign. Let's do a big ceremony and to make people aware, there's an option for them and make them be proud that they've been part of this and more people wanted to join this. So I think that's another area that as a learning professional, we need to be a good marketer. And of course, we don't have to necessarily do it all by ourselves. We can partner with marketing department, the PR department, but have a good marketing and promotion among the internal. That's, I think, is also critical for the success of the role. Third, but not the least, is we must demonstrate the value of learning. And historically, it has been difficult to say, hey, how much value, what result really the training or learning bring to the organization. But we now it's more critical than ever for us we really need to have a good measurement. We need to set up a reasonable expectations and set up good measurement for the learning journey, so that at the end we can demonstrate to the organization, demonstrate that our leaders that the really learning bring the impact. So I think to summarize, I think three part, right, is learning has to be relevant. You really need to know what organization needs and identify that needs and develop good program to meet the needs. Second, you need to good at marketing, promoting this internally. And third, you need to demonstrate the value of the learning.
All right. This is very intense and interesting. I would like to ask you a question that I'm pretty sure is on the minds of many within that field, that there has been a lot of virtual, it's our last question, there has been a lot of virtual trainings during the pandemic. And now it seems people are eager to go back to face-to-face training, at least with some of the people we have asked here at the HR Observer. Do you think we will go back to that?
That's very interesting. I think that's another, the part I really enjoy in my job is I be able to work with professionals from around the world and see what's happening. And you can definitely see there's a difference in terms of preferences. Absolutely, I know in Middle East, there's a lot of people are eager to go back to face-to-face. And in some countries, like for example, US, I think, yes, and people are eager to go back to face-to-face, but we also see a lot of people sticking with the virtual option because that helped them to save the commute time, the travel cost, and more flexible. One of my friend recently, she just took the 4 half-day training. And she said, oh, this is much easier. I can just do it from my home rather than travel to Washington, D.C. to take it. And in some countries, like for example, in Japan, many of our programs still offer in virtual because people, the audience are more separated and they're not in one city. So it's more convenient for them just join on the virtual options. But overall, so that's what we see is, I think overall the hybrid is going to be what the future trends. There's going to be people who are more prefer in person. There are more people who prefer virtual, and there will be, the learning is going to be a hybrid process. Because we were talking about learning, that's another change in our field is when we talk about learning, it's changing from an event to a journey. So learning is not like, okay, just 2-day training in the classroom, and that's it, that's done. So for example, right now, all of ATD training courses is a hybrid process. No matter whether you are in person or online for that, for that training day, you're always going to have access to the online content before and access and do the, homework or assignments or, continue learning online. So it's going to be like hybrid, the model. I think a part of, people eager to go back to in person, there's obviously many different reasons. Part of it is, we are human, right? So that human interaction is really critical. Another part is, unfortunately, I think today we still have a lot of bad virtual learning designs experience. People really tired of just being taught on on the Zoom or on the WebEx, and they just feel like so bored, it's not engaged. But for example, ADD courses, we're not, we're definitely not going to make the attendees feel bored. Every few seconds, they're going to have engaged activities. They're going to have polls. They have interactions. So a good virtual learning experience will help people to understand the value. I think, a lot of people like tired of that is because unfortunately, a lot of people still haven't developed a really good virtual learning experience. And they just feel like, oh, virtual learning is not good, which is not necessarily true. We as a field, we have been continually involved in developing that virtual design and delivering skills. And I think in the future, that is going to stay. But it's not necessarily going to 2 days on the one learning courses, right? You need to have more break, shorter time delivery. So I think that's a long story to answer your question. So I think, virtual here to stay, hybrid is to stay. And I think the key thing is to, no matter what, the key is really developing a learning experience that meet the learner's needs.
I think so. I think it's actually very interesting. It's not long. It's interesting because I think it's amazing that it's based on different cultures, based on different regions, and how the experience is given as well. So there are different factors to whether people would want to go virtual or in person. Dr. Wei, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think it's just really, this is always a very exciting topic, and thank you for having me. I just want to say that it is more important than ever to develop talent, and we're lucky in this field. I think there's a bright future for talent development, and ATD is here for anybody who work in the field to be on this journey with you.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to have you again with us.
Thank you for having me.